You know, growing up as a girl in a small town in India, being mentally strong wasn't a skill they taught in school. No one said, "Here's how you handle failure," or "This is what to do when the world tells you you're not enough." But let me tell you something. Life taught me, experience taught me, and most importantly, I taught myself. Mental strength doesn't mean you have all the answers. It doesn't mean you're fearless. It means you keep going even when fear screams louder than your dreams. It means showing up on your worst days, not just your best ones. It's about falling, yes, but refusing to stay down. Every scratch, every scar, every no you hear is proof that you're still in the fight. You want to know how to be mentally strong. Own your chaos. Life is not a straight road. It's a storm, a dance, a mess. But instead of running from it, embrace it. I faced rejection, criticism, heartbreak, and uncertainty. But I never let them define me. I let them refine me. I used them like fuel. That's what strength looks like. It's not perfect. It's powerful because it's real. Choose your voice, not the noise. The world will always try to tell you who to be, what to wear, how to speak. But the real power lies in saying, "No, this is me." Mental strength is authenticity. It's the courage to say, "I am not going to shrink to fit your mold." You don't have to fit in. You're meant to stand out. You weren't born to be small. Fear is universal. Every single person, no matter how confident they look on the outside, has felt it in the quiet corners of their mind. But the people who rise, the ones we admire, they aren't fearless. They're just brave enough to keep moving anyway. Fear whispers things like, "You can't," "You'll fail," or "You're not enough." And mental strength, it's what allows you to respond with, "Watch me." It's the fire that keeps you walking forward when your legs are trembling and your heart feels like it's racing out of your chest. That's not weakness. That's the beginning of real courage. We're conditioned to believe that fear is a stop sign. That when it shows up, we pause. But what if fear is just a signal that you're stepping into something important? Something that matters? The truth is, the most meaningful changes in your life will always come wrapped in discomfort. You won't feel ready. You won't feel prepared. And that's exactly why pushing through fear is the training ground for mental strength. Every time you do it, every time you move through fear, instead of running from it, you teach yourself that you are capable of more than you thought. There's this lie that strength looks like control. Perfect posture, no doubt, always collected. But real mental strength often looks messy. It's crying in the car and still showing up to the meeting. It's shaking during your speech and still finishing it. It's saying yes when your voice is trembling. And the more you show up despite fear, the quieter it becomes. Not because fear goes away, but because your courage gets louder. And one day, you'll look back and realize the fear that once held power over you now looks small in comparison to who you've become. People love to celebrate confidence, but what they don't talk enough about is the shaky, uncertain beginning. The stage before confidence is built where you feel like a fraud, like an imposter, like you have no business trying. That's the phase most people quit in. But mental strength is what keeps you going in that phase. It's knowing that growth doesn't feel comfortable at first. It's messy, awkward, and sometimes even humiliating. But if you can endure that discomfort long enough, you step into a version of yourself you didn't know was possible. It's easy to move forward when everything feels aligned, when the world is cheering you on and the path looks clear. But the true test of strength is how you act when no one is clapping, when the road is unclear, and fear is the loudest voice in the room. That's where mental muscles are built, not in safety, but in uncertainty. And the more you learn to walk through fear, the more you realize it's not a wall. It's a curtain. One that hides the life you've always wanted behind it. You just have to be bold enough to pull it back. So the next time fear rises up in your throat, don't wait for it to disappear. Don't wait until you feel ready. Take the step anyway. Do it with your heart racing. Do it with your hands shaking. Because nothing changes if you wait for the fear to leave. Everything changes when you act in spite of it. That's the moment mental strength is born. Not in comfort, but in the choice to keep going when everything in you wants to stop. Pain has a way of showing up uninvited. It crashes through your life, disrupting your plans, shaking your confidence, and forcing you to question everything. But what if pain isn't just here to break you? What if it's here to build you? Every heartbreak, every failure, every moment that made you cry alone at night, those aren't the moments that define your weakness. Those are the moments that shape your strength. Because the truth is, pain can either imprison you or it can prepare you. And when you choose to face it, to learn from it instead of run from it, that's when it begins to turn into power. Think of the people you admire most, the ones who walk with presence, the ones who speak with weight. They didn't get there by cruising through life. They got there by surviving the storm, by showing up, broken but breathing, and choosing to rise anyway. Pain gave them layers, depth, compassion, perspective. It carved out space in them that joy never could. And if you're going through something right now, if your heart feels heavy and your spirit feels dim, remember this: your pain has purpose. It's not random. It's not pointless. It's shaping you into the version of yourself that you've been dreaming of becoming. When rejection hits, when plans fall apart, it's easy to believe that you're being punished. But more often than not, you're being redirected. Growth rarely happens in the spotlight. It happens in the shadows, in the quiet, in the lonely. Pain is a teacher with rough hands, but its lessons are unforgettable. It teaches you what matters. It shows you who you really are. It pushes you to evolve. And while you can't control what happens to you, you always get to decide what you do with it. Will you let it crush you? Or will you let it carve strength into your soul? Some of the greatest transformations come from the deepest wounds. Your scars are not signs of shame. They are proof that you healed, that you didn't give up, that you made it through. And that's powerful. Because when you've been through hell and kept walking, you become unshakable. People can sense it in you. Not because you pretend everything's fine, but because you know what it took to stand where you are. You carry your pain not as baggage, but as armor, as wisdom, as fuel for your future. And that's what makes you unstoppable. We live in a world that tells us to hide our pain, to fake smiles, to keep everything picture perfect. But the truth is, your power comes from your authenticity, from being able to say, "Wise, I've been hurt, but I'm still here." Real strength isn't born in pretending you're untouched. It's born in embracing your story, all of it, even the parts that made you age. Because when you own your pain, you own your growth. You become someone who can rise not just for yourself, but for others. You become someone who turns their wounds into wisdom. So when life gets hard, when things fall apart, and when you feel like breaking, remember what pain has the potential to do. It can crush you or carry you. It can close you off or crack you open. Let it break down the old and build up the new. Let it teach you to be fierce, focused, and full of fire. Because the most powerful version of you won't come from the easy days. It will rise from the pain you once thought would destroy you. And that version, that's the one who changes everything. Life is anything but perfect, and yet we spend so much time trying to make it look like it is. We curate our days to look polished, our emotions to feel controlled, and our journey to seem smooth. But the truth is, real life is loud, complicated, unpredictable, and chaotic. And that chaos, it's not your weakness. It's your rawest, most honest strength. When you stop fighting to make everything neat and start accepting the wildness of your journey, you unlock something powerful: resilience. Owning your chaos means embracing who you are in the mess, not just who you are when everything is going right. There's something incredibly brave about saying, "Yes, my life is complicated, but I'm still showing up." That's the kind of strength that doesn't get talked about enough. The days when you feel overwhelmed, scattered, unsure of your next move, those are the moments that are shaping you. It's easy to feel powerful when you're in control. But when nothing makes sense, when you're lost and still trying, that's when you're growing in ways you won't even recognize until later. Chaos doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're alive. It means you're trying. And trying, even in uncertainty, is a victory on its own. People often think strength looks like having it all together. But it actually looks more like crying in the shower and still going to work. It's saying, "I don't know how I'm going to do this," and then doing it anyway. Life isn't supposed to be a clean script. It's an unscripted, beautiful mess. The strength you're looking for doesn't live in perfection. It lives in your ability to keep moving through the storm, to navigate the unpredictable, to breathe through the anxiety, and to trust that you'll find your footing, even if it takes a few wrong turns. Chaos can be your greatest teacher. It shows you what you're made of. It introduces you to pieces of yourself that comfort never could. When things fall apart, when plans break, when people walk away, those moments are painful, yes, but they're also clarifying. They burn away the distractions, the noise, the superficial. They force you to focus on what actually matters. Owning your chaos means being honest about your struggles, not burying them. It means admitting this is hard, while still holding space for the possibility of light breaking through. There's a strange kind of beauty in being cracked open by chaos, because that's when the real you shows up, not the filtered, edited, always fine version, but the raw, determined, fully alive version. When you stop pretending that your journey is clean and start loving it for its messiness, you allow others to do the same. You become a reminder that it's okay to not have it all figured out. That strength is not in pretending you're unshaken, but in standing up again after life has knocked you down more times than you can count. So if you're in the thick of it, if your world feels loud and uncertain, don't wish it away. Don't wait for everything to be perfect before you start feeling powerful. You're already powerful because you're surviving, you're adapting, you're still trying to make sense of it all, even when nothing makes sense. That chaos, it's not the end of your story, it's the part where you begin to rise. Not in spite of the storm, but because of it. There's something magnetic about a person who knows exactly who they are and refuses to dim it for the comfort of others. In a world that constantly tries to box you in, label you, and polish your edges, being fully and unapologetically yourself is an act of rebellion and strength. Authenticity isn't about being perfect. It's about being real, raw, honest. Load in your truth, even when it makes people uncomfortable. When you embrace your flaws, your quirks, your unique energy, you stop shrinking and start standing tall. And there's nothing more powerful than someone who's done hiding. We're taught from a young age to blend in, to be polite, agreeable, digestible. Especially as women, we're taught to play small so we don't intimidate, to adjust our dreams so they fit inside someone else's comfort zone. But authenticity doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't wait for approval, it rises. It walks into rooms with presence. It says, "This is me, take it or leave it." And when you choose to live like that, to show up fully even when you're scared, you give others the permission to do the same. You become a mirror for what's possible when we stop pretending. There will always be people who won't get you, who will misunderstand your boldness, your confidence, your fire. Let them. Your job isn't to shrink so you can fit into someone else's limited vision of you. Your job is to live so loudly in your truth that even if they don't understand it, they feel it. Authenticity isn't for everyone, but it's for you. And when you walk in your truth long enough, the right people, the right opportunities, and the right energy will always align with you. Because what's meant for the real, you can only find you when you stop hiding. Being authentic doesn't mean you're fearless. It means you're brave enough to show the world your real self, even when it feels risky. It means speaking up when silence is easier, standing firm when everyone else is swaying, and staying grounded when the world tries to blow you in every direction. Your authenticity is your anchor. It keeps you connected to your values, your purpose, your truth. It reminds you that you don't need to perform to be worthy. You don't need to conform to be loved. You just need to show up fully, consistently, and without apology. People are drawn to authenticity because it's rare. They can sense when you're real, when you're not wearing a mask. And while being real won't protect you from judgment or rejection, it will protect your peace. Because there is nothing more exhausting than constantly trying to be something you're not. When you choose authenticity, you choose freedom, you choose alignment, and most importantly, you choose yourself. That's the kind of strength that doesn't need to shout to be heard. It's felt deeply and unforgettably. So when you feel the urge to dim your light, to soften your edges, to hide parts of who you are, pause. Ask yourself, who are you shrinking for? And is their comfort worth the cost of your truth? You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to shine, to take up space, to live fully in the bold, beautiful, and honest version of yourself. That's where your power lies, not in perfection, but in authenticity. Not in silence, but in being brave enough to be loud about who you truly are, every single day. You're building a version of yourself that you haven't even met yet. That future version of you, the one who's stronger, wiser, braver, is not some fantasy. She's real, she's waiting. And everything you do today is either bringing you closer to her or pulling you further away. It's easy to forget that the small choices matter. That the way you show up on the hard days is the blueprint for the person you're becoming. But if you could hear her voice right now, that future self of yours, she'd be whispering, please don't stop. I need you to keep going. There's something powerful about knowing that you're not just living for today. You're laying the foundation for tomorrow. And not just any tomorrow. Tomorrow where you're more fulfilled, more at peace, more grounded in your worth. But that version doesn't appear out of thin air. She's built in the decisions you make when no one's watching. In the habits you're tired of repeating. In the moments you choose growth over comfort. Your future self isn't judging you for your mistakes. She's rooting for your persistence. She knows the storms you've survived. She knows what it took just to keep going. And she needs you to remember why you started. On the days when motivation disappears, when your energy is drained, and your faith is fading, those are the days that matter most. Because that's when you're not running on adrenaline or excitement. You're running on commitment. And commitment to your future self is one of the highest forms of self-respect. It says, I care enough about the person I'm becoming to not give up, even when it's hard. That kind of mindset doesn't just change your future. It changes how you carry yourself right now. With purpose, with resilience, with intention. You don't need to have all the answers to move forward. You just need to trust that the version of you who's living the life you dream about will only exist if today's version keeps trying. When you picture her, standing tall, living freely, radiating confidence, you have to remember, she's only possible because of the version of you who didn't walk away when it got tough. She's shaped by your discipline, by your tears, by your refusal to settle. And while the road might not be easy, the destination is worth every step. Sometimes we get so caught up in fixing the past or surviving the present that we forget to invest in the future. But every time you say no to distractions, every time you choose healing over avoidance, every time you get back up after falling, you're investing, not in perfection, but in evolution. And that investment pays off in ways you can't imagine yet. Because one day, you'll wake up and realize that the life you're living was once the vision your tired, doubting self held onto. That's the power of listening to the future version of you before she even exists. So when it feels like nothing is changing, like the effort is invisible and the progress is too slow, pause. Close your eyes, visualize her. She's smiling, proud of you, thankful that you didn't stop when it would have been easier to give up. That version of you doesn't just represent your goals. She represents your strength, your courage, your growth. And everything you're doing right now, every hard choice, every silent battle, every act of discipline is for her. Because the strongest version of you isn't a stranger. She's a reflection of every moment you chose to keep going. Perfection is a beautiful lie we've all been sold. The idea that if we just try hard enough, we can be flawless, never mess up, never feel insecure, never fall apart. But the truth, that version of life doesn't exist. Trying to be perfect only leads to exhaustion, self-doubt, and constant comparison. It makes you hide your struggles and feel ashamed of your imperfections. But resilience is where real power lies. It doesn't demand you to be perfect. It only asks that you don't quit, that you bend but don't break, that you rise again and again, no matter how many times you fall. There's a quiet kind of strength in being able to say, I'm not okay right now, but I'm still trying. That's what resilience looks like. It's not the loud, heroic comeback. Sometimes it's just putting your feet on the floor in the morning when everything in you wants to give up. Perfection tells you to avoid failure at all costs. Resilience teaches you how to grow because of it. One keeps you afraid, small, and self-critical. The other turns you into someone who can face life with grit and grace. When you choose resilience, you give yourself permission to be human and still be strong. The most powerful people you know didn't get there by being flawless. They got there by being relentless, by failing forward, by learning from their wounds, and by embracing their scars instead of hiding them. Resilience doesn't ask for clean, polished answers. It asks for courage. It asks you to stand back up after being knocked down and to walk into the fire of life, knowing you might get burned, but also knowing you'll heal. And healing is a badge of honor, not something to be ashamed of. Perfection says, don't make mistakes. Resilience says, make them and become better because of them. When we strive for perfection, we often hold back. We don't take risks. We don't speak up. We don't try new things because we're afraid we won't get it right the first time. But life isn't about getting everything right. It's about showing up, giving your all, and learning through the process. The people who thrive aren't those who never mess up. They're the ones who fall and keep showing up anyway. Every challenge, every obstacle, every messy moment is shaping you into someone wiser, tougher, and more equipped for what's ahead. That's not weakness. That's the raw, beautiful strength of resilience. Choosing resilience means being honest with yourself. It means looking at your reflection and saying, I'm not perfect, but I'm worthy. I've made mistakes, but I'm still growing. I've been through pain, but I haven't lost my fight. That mindset creates inner peace. Stop chasing unattainable standards and start honoring your journey. You start trusting the process and respecting your progress. You become kinder to yourself, and that kindness becomes a force. Because the more you lean into resilience, the less you fear imperfection, and the more powerful you become because of it. So even when the road feels long, even when you feel like you're moving too slowly or not doing enough, remember this: you were never meant to be perfect. You were meant to be real, to be tested and still choose hope, to feel broken and still believe in healing. Resilience isn't a trait reserved for the tough. It's a decision made by the willing. And every time you choose to keep going, to keep believing, to keep rising, you're proving to yourself and the world that being unbreakable in spirit is far greater than being flawless on the surface. At the end of the day, the strongest version of you isn't built in perfection. It's built in persistence. It's not the flawless image that makes you powerful. It's your ability to rise, to feel deeply, to fall apart and still choose to show up. Mental strength is not about having it all figured out. It's about embracing your chaos, learning from your pain, walking through your fears, and staying loyal to the future you believe in. When you stop shrinking, when you start owning your story, when you choose resilience over image, you become unstoppable. So let go of who the world expects you to be and become who you were always meant to be: bold, real, and unbreakably you.